My childhood was very unconventional. You see, my dad is an eccentric scientist. He is always coming home with new inventions. You know, he even invented a pill to take instead of eating a meal. He gave it to Mom and me to try one time, but I didn't really like it, to be honest. Dad had his own laboratory in our house. I was never allowed to go in there. He would disappear in there for days sometimes. Even though my life wasn't as normal as other people's, I was really happy. Well, for most of the time I was happy. The only thing I didn't like was my brother's jealousy. They never used to be jealous, but when they went to summer camp and when they came back, it was like they were completely different people. Before I go on, stop right there. Have you subscribed to the channel yet? If you have, congratulations. If you haven't, what are you doing? Quick, hit that subscribe button now. And while you're at it, tap the notification bell too, so you don't miss out on any more shocking stories. I don't really remember my mom being pregnant. I suppose I was too young. I just remember the day she came home with my twin brothers. Dad had told me to stay home because he was going to pick Mom up. He told me that they had a surprise for me. When they arrived home, I saw Mom was holding 2 babies in her arms. "Meet Liam and Lewis," Mom said to me. "They are your new brothers." I was shocked, to say the least, but I loved my baby brothers. It was fun helping Mom to look after them. I used to read them stories and play peekaboo with them. I couldn't wait until they were old enough for us all to play properly together. As they got older, you could see they had a special bond. Well, I suppose all twins do. It was as if they knew what the other one was thinking. They would even finish off each other's sentences. It was weird how similar they were, but they never left me out. They always included me in everything they were doing. That's why I was a bit upset when Mom and Dad sent them off to summer camp. "But why can't I go too?" I asked Mom. "Come on now, Lisa," said Mom. "The boys just need to do something by themselves." Dad took the boys in the car and I stayed at home with Mom. I really missed them while they were away. The day they were due back, I stood at the window watching to see Dad's car. When he pulled into the driveway, I ran down to greet them. I ran to the boys and gave them a big hug. But Lewis just pushed me away. I was hurt at first, but smiled at them. "I've missed you two so much." But neither of them looked that happy to see me. Oh, well, they're probably tired, I thought. But the next day, things weren't any better. They wouldn't let me play with them, and when I tried to go into their room, they pushed me back out. They didn't do it in front of Mom and Dad, though. They were their usual selves when my parents were around. Mom could tell I was sad, though. "What's the matter, Lisa?" she asked. "Liam and Lewis won't let me play with them," I told her. I thought that Mom would tell the boys that they had to include me in their games. But instead of making them play with me, Mom did other things to cheer me up. One time she took me into town for a special lunch, just the 2 of us, and she bought me lots of presents. If I asked to go to the movies, she would take me. She wouldn't ask the boys to come, though. One time, I was in town with her and I saw some trainers that I really wanted. I knew they were too expensive, but I asked Mom if I could have them. "Of course you can, darling," Mom said, and she bought them for me. When we got home, I went upstairs and showed Liam and Lewis my new trainers. "Look what Mom bought for me," I said. They looked at the trainers. "Of course she did," said Liam nastily. "Yeah, you always get what you want and we get nothing," said Lewis. "That's not true," I said. But later when we went downstairs, the twins asked Mom if they could have new trainers too. "Oh, you don't need any," said Mom. "Your trainers are still perfectly fine." The twins glared at me. I realized they were jealous of me. It wasn't my fault if Mom said they couldn't have them, I thought. We sat down at the kitchen table for dinner. Mom had made lasagna. It was my favorite. She put a plate of lasagna down in front of me, but when it came to Liam and Lewis, all they got was one of Dad's pills. "Why aren't we having lasagna?" they asked Mom. "Oh, you know you two love Dad's pills," said Mom. I could feel Liam and Lewis's anger, but I didn't look at them. After that, things got even worse. Like the time I was walking to school and everyone was laughing and pointing at me. I wondered what was going on, but when I got to the school gates, I realized what it was all about. My brothers were giving out leaflets with a photograph of me on it. At the top it said, "Sister for sale, no longer wanted or needed." Why were they being so mean? I thought. I grabbed the leaflets out of their hands and threw them in the bin. I hate you! I shouted at them, but they just laughed at me. I didn't think it could get any worse than that, but I had no idea what was coming. The following weekend, it was my best friend's birthday party. I had been looking forward to it for ages. Mom had bought me a new dress to wear. It had been hanging on my bedroom door for weeks. I couldn't wait to put it on. After lunch, I went up to my room to get ready for the party, but when I got there, I couldn't find my dress. Where is it? I thought. I knew it was hanging here. Suddenly, I heard my brothers in the garden laughing. I looked out of the window. My face dropped in horror. My brothers had my dress and they had set it on fire. I ran down the stairs and out to the garden. "What are you doing?" I screamed. "You have ruined my dress." "Oh, sorry," said Liam. "Mom asked us to burn the rubbish. We thought she meant this too." Maybe it's a simple mistake, I thought. I didn't want to get them into trouble, so I just went back upstairs and found another dress to wear. The following week, things weren't so bad. They didn't do anything else nasty to me, so maybe they weren't as jealous as I had thought. Friday night came, and as we always were having a takeaway for dinner, Mom ordered Chinese food, but once again, Liam and Lewis only got one of Dad's pills. I realized then that Mom and Dad didn't treat Lewis and Liam fairly. I don't blame them if they are jealous, I thought. That's when I decided I was going to do something special for them, to try and make up for them not being treated the same as me. After dinner, I went up to their room. "I've got a big surprise for you two," I said. "What is it?" they asked. "You'll see," I said. "Just be ready to go in the morning at 9 o'clock. The following morning, the three of us set off. I told Mom we were going to the park, but instead, I took them to the water park. They were so excited when we got there. Mom and Dad never let us go to the water park before, said Liam. We changed into our swimsuits and I dove into the water. Liam and Lewis looked a bit hesitant, but they jumped in after me. But something wasn't right. I looked at them both as they seemed to just freeze in the water. They weren't swimming. In fact, they both looked as though the water was hurting them. "Swim!" I shouted to them. But instead of swimming, they both started sinking. I knew that if I didn't do something quick, they would sink to the bottom of the pool. I pulled them both out of the water and laid them on the side of the pool. They weren't moving. I was panicking. I didn't know what had happened. I grabbed my phone from my bag and called Dad. "Dad, it's Liam and Lewis. They're not moving," I told him. "Where are you?" asked Dad. "We're at the water park," I said. "You're what?" screamed Dad. "Wait there. We will come." I never heard Dad raise his voice before. I'm going to be in big trouble, I thought. Mom and Dad came running over to where the twins were laid. They told me to go home and they would take care of everything. I didn't want to leave, but Dad looked so angry. I did what he told me. I got home and went to my room. I was so worried about my brothers. It was all my fault. I should have never taken them to the water park. I sat there for ages waiting. Where could they be? I thought. They must have gone to the hospital. That's when I heard the noise. Someone was in Dad's laboratory. Who can that be? I wondered. I went downstairs and listened outside the door. There was definitely someone inside. I knew that I wasn't supposed to go in there, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door and went inside. That's when I got the shock of my life. There were 2 beds in the room, and my brothers were laid on them. Except they didn't look like my brothers. Their arms and legs had been opened up, and I could see wires inside them and hanging out of their limbs. My dad was standing beside them. He was poking inside Liam's arm with some tweezers. "What's going on? What have you done to Lewis and Liam?" I shouted. Dad turned and looked at me in surprise. "Lisa, you shouldn't have come in here," he said. "You know you're not allowed." "I don't care," I shouted. "I want to know what's going on." Dad sighed. "You better sit down and let me explain." He sat me down and told me that my brothers were robots. He said that after he and Mom had me, they wanted more children, but weren't able to have any. So they decided that Dad would make 2 robots to be my twin brothers. Everything was fine until they had to go for their 10-year maintenance. He said, "We told you they were going to summer camp, but actually we sent them off to get some specialist maintenance." Dad then explained that something had gone wrong when they got their maintenance. Something had activated their emotions. They had never had feelings before. After they came back, they began to feel jealousy. I knew they had changed after the summer camp, they said. We tried to make it up to you, said Dad, but now I can see it only made things worse. They were jealous of you because you are a human being, just like us. How could you do that to me? I asked him. I thought I had 2 baby brothers, when actually all I've got is robots. I hate you. I never want to see you or Mom again. I ran out of the house. Dad shouted at me to come back, but I just ignored him. I ran out into the street. I had no idea where I was running to. I just kept on running. It was raining hard, and I jumped as I heard a crack of thunder and a flash of lightning. I was soaking wet, but I didn't stop running. Eventually, I came to the woods. I ran straight through them, but the ground was slippery because of the rain. I fell over and slipped down the embankment into the river. The water was high from the rain, and the current was strong. I struggled, but I couldn't get out of the river. The water dragged me downstream. I was terrified. As the river wound around a corner, I didn't see the big rock jutting out. As the water took me past, I banged my head against the rock. I was just about to pass out when suddenly I felt a hand reaching out to me. I grabbed hold of the hand as tightly as I could. The next thing I knew, I was being pulled out of the water onto the side of the river. I laid there gasping for air. I looked around to see who had saved me. It was Louis. He was holding his hand in pain from the water. What are you doing? I asked him. You could have short-circuited your hand from putting it into the water. I don't care, he shouted back at me. You're my sister and I love you. That was the moment I realized you don't need to have blood to be family. Louis put his arm around me and we walked back home. Mom and Dad were shocked when they saw us. I think it's probably a good thing that the boys have emotions, said Mom to Dad. If Louis hadn't felt love for Lisa, he would never have pulled her from the river.